Just real quick, you are listening top of the hour, WMSC Upper Montclair. This is Matchweek. You are joined by myself, Ardi Emini. We discuss everything soccer from the highs and the lows in the sporting week to the news that is relevant to you. Hello everybody, how are we doing today? All my soccer addicts, how are we? We are all junkies for the sport and we just love having some fun talking about it. Now, today is going to be a little bit different. I'm brand new to the station. It's a brand new show. Here to introduce myself. My name is Ardi Emini. Yeah, that's right. Ardi Emini. Don't forget it. Just joking. But yeah, we're here today to discuss everything soccer. But this show isn't only just a show. It originally started out as a podcast as well. And sadly, I had taken a big break from the podcast for a long time. I would say about 4 months or so. Put it on the back burner because I was investing in this station. And this station means a lot to me and to a whole lot of other people who listen to it, and I wanted to be a part of it. I put my work in, put my time in. I'm very appreciative to everybody who works here at the station, and now I'm seen as a member of it, and I'll be able to bring this phenomenal show with me. So Matchweek, what is it? Matchweek is a soccer-based news show where we talk everything soccer from, what your team is doing and how, they're struggling a little bit, X, Y, and Z, or about certain transfers, certain big news that's happening, especially in regards to, how things occur within the sport. And a lot of people are not as knowledgeable of it, or they are, and they want to have someone to talk to about it. So that's what we're here for. So I'll wait for our guests to come. We're going to take a nice little break and listen to some music.
You're listening to 90.3 FM, WMSC, Upper Montclair.
Hello, how are we doing now, guys? Here's the thing now. I have something to talk about here, and that is, the state of soccer right now as a franchise within, the sport of the U.S. Just a little, small topic as we wait for our guests to come on. As we know, a lot of times franchises have been struggling as a sport within, the U.S. itself. We see it now, for example, the NBA. There's a lot of teams like, the Mavericks, Orlando Magic, stuff like that. These teams where they're not really spending as much and doing as much, and they're sort of losing out on the potential they have because all they have is just this franchise guaranteed sport and money spread out and stuff. And a lot of people will see it as sort of a big positive, like, hey, we have X, Y, and Z to use, and this is our options, and this is what we have, and we can't risk anything. We have a guarantee, and sometimes in life you really can't, settle for the guarantee. There's always a way to expand, and I feel like we really are holding and hesitating ourselves on expanding more than we can. So, yeah, while we wait, let's go and listen to some more music as we wait for our guests to get here. There we go. Hello, and we are back. Sorry for that little hiccup over here. Now, I have my guest with me. I've been waiting for him for a little bit, but it's okay. The best happens when you wait for it. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, Besmir Zuta, third time on the podcast now, right? Third time?
Yeah, I think third time sounds right. And, today we're going to be just discussing, what's happened to the weekend so far, how we're feeling about certain results, and tell me, Besmir, big result happened for you.
Oh man. Yeah, listen, I was unfortunate. I didn't get to watch the Chelsea game live, but it was probably better off for my stress levels and my blood pressure that I didn't watch the game.
Say that again.
Too much of a roller coaster. That Rudiger goal, unreal. I mean, he's on a different level, but they always have critics. There's always critics talking at Chelsea. When they try to play four at the back, never ends well. I was a bit surprised with the lineup, but you know what? Listen, Brentford has been super dangerous all season. They haven't really been consistent at it all season, but when they're in gear, they've been a force to say the least. And to beat Chelsea 4-1 at home at Stamford Bridge is unreal. I mean, a good wake-up call for Chelsea. Their fourth, maybe fifth loss of the season. am a strong supporter of Thomas Tuchel. I'm confident, they're going to be okay. When you look at it, it was 3 goals in the span of 10 minutes right after Chelsea went up. Tough. Very tough.
I think that was a game plan all along with Brentford, as we saw, like, for example, opening game of the season against Arsenal. Brentford were basically had minimal possession throughout this whole entire game, right? Chelsea's 71% possession to Brentford's 29%. That basically just shows parking the bus, waiting for the counter every time. A Chelsea specialty, as some would say.
Yeah, when it comes to making use of the ball, to score 4 goals with 29% possession is quite the feat. And, they say nobody counts passes, nobody counts your possession. My dad is a huge, nobody counts your chances, nobody counts your passes. They only count one thing, and that's the goals. So, he's right. He's right. Chelsea can have the ball for 95% of the match. You lose 1-0, you lose 1-0. Like the great Mourinho quote, let them take the ball home with them as long as we take the 3 points. And that's what Brentford did. Great result for them. Hopefully Chelsea can rebound for the Champions League, but we'll see what happens. I'm happy for Brentford. Well deserved.
Yeah, 100%. Especially with Christian Eriksen getting on the score sheet, man's had a troubled year, so the fact of the matter is that he can get a goal back in the Premier League playing again is just a great story.
Yeah, so the guy, goes through this miserable period in his life and then comes back, scores with the national team in the stadium where he had the whole incident.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's grabbed a couple Prem goals now. You got to when you got to look at some of the best signings clubs have made this season. Eriksen's been on fire since he joined Brentford.
Oh yeah, 100%. For Brentford, it wasn't even like that big of a gamble. It's either you get somebody who can contribute a little bit to the team and does things here and there on low wages, or you don't have that whatsoever. Like, we all know his class, and really the Premier League was his only option because they're the only ones who will allow for to have the pacemaker and everything. It's very very fortunate situation for him. Going on from Christian Eriksen, the league is looking tough right now. We have Man City on 73 points, and we have Liverpool on 72. Think about it. There's only a point differential within the top right now. It's as competitive as it can be.
And they play each other in the next week or so, don't
April
they?
10th, I think it is.
Yeah, so, when you look at it, it was always going to be, a 2-horse race. I still don't think Chelsea has everything clicking, and with the issues with Abramovich and whatnot this season.
Yeah, the sanctions are really just I think they're overtly harsh for no reason. Personally, you're going after a club where that club has put X amount of jobs in London where they are around Stamford and stuff like that, and they've the only way you're really affecting this club, you're not affecting the starting 11 or the people up top who make all the decisions. You're affecting the people who work in the cafeteria for the players. You're affecting the drivers. You're affecting the people who work at the stadium. And
the blue collar workers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
These are the people that are being affected, and yet somehow they're still being so harsh with sanctions on Chelsea.
Yeah. I understand where it comes from in terms of, wanting to punish one of the Russian oligarchs, as a person, as a businessman, it's hard to respect someone like Abramovich with the way he's made his money and how he's gone about his life. Even with reports now saying he's leading the, peace talks between Ukraine and Russia. But when it comes to being strictly a football club owner,
he's one of the best there's ever been, I think.
He's helped transform not just Chelsea, but the Premier League. Making when he first came in, Chelsea United was a battle for the ages. Everyone talks about what City and Liverpool are going through now. Realistically, Liverpool's won 1 league title since Klopp's been here.
Yeah.
Chelsea and United were exchanging league titles every year, FA Cup finals.
Well, United winning the majority of.
Well, of course, but. In the last 20 years, Chelsea being the most successful club in England is a different story.
Yes, but just let me get what I can get, bro. Okay, I've had a rough weekend with United. Just let me be, bro.
No, that's fair. But when it comes to, like I said, During the whole pandemic, Abramovich went in. He did a lot for the healthcare workers in England. Opening up Stamford Bridge, and donating a lot of his own money and whatnot. Chelsea is a club that enjoys being the underdog and hated by everyone. It's something I say all the time that people find a bit weird, but Chelsea enjoys being hated by everyone. And right now, I feel like it's wrongful hate. We can't control who owns us, with the club being sold now and whatnot. But still, to look at Chelsea and what they're going through is, if you ask me, it's still been a pretty good season. They've picked up some trophies, final appearances. We're still in the Champions League. Third place looks pretty wrapped up. As long as we do our job till the end of the season, it's still not the end of the world for Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to talk about points difference between third place and seventh place, it's really only 6 points, 8 points, 6 points really, in majority. If we're talking about from United to Chelsea, it's an 8-point difference with Chelsea having a game in hand.
Yeah, when I look at these serious contenders for fourth, you look at Arsenal, who is level on points with Spurs at right now at the recording of this podcast,
but they're also a game behind.
Yeah. So, and Arsenal has arguably one of the toughest, if not the toughest, schedule remaining of the season. Brighton, Southampton, Chelsea, United, West Ham, Leeds, Spurs. So it's it's not going to be easy for them, but it's hard. I mean, Antonio Conte's pulled some good results with Spurs. Mm-hmm. West Ham can surprise people. I'm honestly pretty excited to see who finishes in that fourth place. I'm going to be an optimistic Chelsea fan and say we're taking third.
Here's the thing. Me, I unbiased, neutral fan. If I'm looking at this, I can't use any bias. Man, nah, I'm just joking. All right, I think Arsenal's guaranteed fourth in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, Antonio Conte, phenomenal manager, but as we saw against Newcastle, even though granted it was a game of two halves. First half, Newcastle had them on lock, knew what they were doing, and second half they blew away 4 or 5 goals conceded. Granted, yes, great result for them, but as we've seen, teams know how to lock them down. They know where their creative outlets are, and they know what they can or cannot do. For example, let's say for Newcastle, right? Tottenham will know how to lock down those teams sometimes, because it's very easily you can see that it's Willock and it's St. Maximin. Those are your only two creators. Lock them down. The team, can't do anything. But for Tottenham, when they come up against these bigger teams, they don't really know how to lock them down. They don't know how to go up against a Chelsea. They don't really know how to go up against an Arsenal. United, maybe it's easy. Just go through Maguire and you're scoring. That's not an issue. But that's where I think they might falter in comparison to an Arsenal. Because Arsenal's giving me these Xavi vibes at Barcelona right now. They really have this hive mentality that's working for them.
Yeah, I mean we're getting into the business end of the season now, right? Where you need to pull results. That's where I would possibly go the other way and say Antonio Conte's experience maybe plays a big factor in them pulling results. I mean, it's take away my Chelsea bias towards Antonio Conte, who came in, brought the 3 center back revolution to the world. Had a dominating presence in the Prem with Chelsea. I think his experience is what's going to be the difference maker in him being able to get his team and his troops ready for the battle of the last, 8 matches of the season or so. Antonio Conte has proven time and again that he can get his teams through tough times and, win the games that are supposed to be won, even if it's a 1-0 victory. While, with no disrespect to Spurs, while they don't have that exactly killer mentality and that winning mentality, they don't win trophies.
No, they.
It's just
you're not wrong. They don't.
They don't win trophies, but Antonio Conte does.
Yeah.
So, I think he is going to make this 4th place push very exciting. And let's be real, between Arsenal, Spurs, United, West Ham, I honestly enjoy watching West Ham more than than the other three teams. West Ham's been the most entertaining side to watch in the Prem this season.
But
They're so much fun to watch.
They've also been the most inconsistent side, right?
But that's what makes them so fun.
I know. It's either you're going to get a masterclass performance of Declan Rice putting them on their back, or it's either going to be like they just can't hold themselves together. It's really one or the other.
Yeah, but West Ham's so much fun to watch. I am a huge David Moyes supporter.
Yeah.
Love him. Loved him since he was at United with Fellaini. until he went to United with Fellaini.
You mean when he was at Everton with Fellaini?
I mean Everton, I'm sorry. Since he was at Everton. Fellaini was arguably the best midfielder in the league. Specifically that 1 year he was untouchable.
Yeah.
I've always said Moyes is the kind of manager that needs to be at these clubs where, with all due respect, they're not competing for the title, but for Champions League, Europa League spots, maybe a League Cup, an FA Cup.
Just the pressure, like you gotta
they're
understand.
killing in the Europa League too,
Yeah,
aren't they?
yeah, they are. You have to understand, like being under pressure like that, it gets to a player or even a manager. Like for example, Ben Foster, he was recently talking about this on every I know, but like every channel possible, whether it was the United podcast, his own podcast, somehow mentioning he played for United. But he says playing for that team comes with a high expectation. There's no easy in, no easy out. There's no easy in, no easy out. It's really tough to hold that because every game you are expected to win, nothing else. There's high expectations for every player.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think the easy way to say it is, if I wish I could just jump to the end of the season and kind of figure out where the results are. In FIFA.
Oh yeah, when you simulate, yeah.
When you can simulate like a month, like I wouldn't be surprised if it was West Ham in the 4th spot, if it was Spurs, if it was Arsenal, even if it's United. Maybe Maguire. The group stage draw of the World Cup kind of gets him going again, and he becomes...
Or maybe Maguire just somehow accidentally, something happens. Oh, no.
Decides to retire.
Yeah.
No. We have to have some faith in good old Slabhead. The World Cup's coming around, and England's going to need him on form.
Well, here's my question. What do you think about Harry Maguire being booed at the games? Here's the question. Do you think it's the fans trying to express their opinions for once and wanting to be heard, or is it them genuinely being upset with the player?
In all reality, Harry Maguire is not the sole cause of every problem United has.
Well, no, but
he is the easiest scapegoat because he's put some bad performances in. When it comes to his situation, I feel upset for it upsets me. A player like him, being a coach, if one of my players is going through a rough patch, the last thing I want is anyone booing them, especially those who are supposed to be his biggest supporters.
Well, here's the question: do you think that they're booing him out of spite to Southgate? Because the only thing they can really say about Southgate is what they say on Twitter, or what if they maybe have chance or something. Do you think it's because the fans are upset with how Southgate's selection have been? Because he said throughout these friendlies and stuff like that it was meant to be more so a test to them and how they want to test out new players and maybe systems. And a lot of people arguing for Tomori. They wanted to see that debut with him. They wanted to see how he would do within the England shirt, because obviously he's been killing it for AC Milan, playing with 3 different center back partners, out-passing, out-defending every defender in that league. And that's the Defenders League, which is very impressive.
Just another animal to come through the Chelsea Academy at Cobham.
If we're going to talk about Chelsea animals too, people are also making the argument from Argehi.
Oh my God!
Conor Gallagher gets called up, but I think Gehi was not called up from what I heard from Outrage.
No, I don't think so.
I think that's the point they're making, is that they want to see these players who they've seen have been phenomenal throughout the season, based off form, want to see them in the English shirt, want to see how they do.
Yeah, and I can understand them being upset with Southgate. Take it out on Southgate.
Yeah, but how? That's the question for every England fan. How do you take it out on Southgate?
English fans are like every other fan in the world, maybe a little more, quick to respond, with, based on their emotions. And you know, if Maguire comes up in a World Cup group stage against the United States and scores a 90th minute header to win the match, Harry Maguire will be pronounced as the King of England.
Yeah.
He will be their savior. Shirt sales will go through the roof. If Maguire scores an own goal in a group stage game or something, he's gonna have to go into witness protection.
Yeah.
You know, it's the sad reality of football. You know, do I believe, taking my Chelsea bias out, that Mark Gahey and Tomori have proven their worth to get into the national team? I mean, I think Tomori specifically is undisputed. He shouldn't just be in the squad. He should be pushing for a starting spot. I mean, he's part of this resurgence of AC Milan that's been tremendous. You know, they're not just fighting for a top 4 spot in Italy. You know, they're at the top. You know, he's been magnificent. Wonderful is underrating him a bit.
Yeah.
You know, he offers everything you need in a modern day center back. And I think by the time the World Cup comes around, I can't think of anyone that starts over him at center back position for England.
Well, here's the question. Like, England, they set up in a very peculiar way where they have these two, like, defensive mids. Well, defensive, but you really have Declan Rice, who's that everything. Yeah. And you pair him up with either a Calvin Phillips or Henderson, and either or, whoever. You put any random midfielder next to Declan Rice, and you basically have Harry Maguire sitting right behind them. That's how they've always been. They've always had, like, 5 defenders, but really it's been Harry Maguire, do what you do, don't cause an own goal. That's like Southgate has given him so much protection in that team. As now England fans, when they look at him at United, they wonder why. It's because United does not give him that protection that England does. So I think it's sort of harsh to judge it. Like, granted, I'm the biggest Maguire critic, don't get me wrong. I think it's a bit harsh to judge a player based off of being based off having to adjust to different styles of play.
Yeah, no, that's fair. You know, but when I look at it, it's tough for Maguire, I'd say, at United. Also, when you look at the quality around him.
Yeah.
You know, with all due respect to United players, listen, United's one of the biggest clubs in the world. You know my respect for United. It's, you know, I have a lot of respect for the club, but when you're playing for the English national team, now, it's a pity they can't grab as the kind of results they should be getting.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at some of the best young talent in the world, you know, England's right up there with everyone else.
I mean, just look at Jude Bellingham. Kid's 18, 19 years old, dominating the Bundesliga.
He's so much fun to watch too. He's a little baller, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And the big thing for me is this England side, with Maguire in the side, just being more consistent. You know, I'm not gonna even talk about the Chelsea players like a Chilwell being in there.
Well, that's the issue, right? I mean, when you have a player like Chilwell who's out injured currently at the moment, when you also have someone like Reece James who wasn't given enough time, and now you have Trent back, it's like, what?
Yeah,
England, they have like
so much quality.
It's ridiculous because, like, you know how, like, with like Brazil, it used to be like they never could decide what left back to start.
Yeah.
For England now, it's like they have 7 different right backs. Pick one. Just pick any one. They're guaranteed World Cup starter.
And you can't turn and not start like Kyle Walker.
Yeah, but Kyle Walker, I think for England, he knows his role as sort of playing that in between of a center back and a right back. He's sort of like, that's why Maguire thrives so much. You have someone like Kyle Walker, who's right behind him, ready to, like, with the pace he still has for his age.
Kyle Walker's rapid.
He's like, what, 32, 33, and he's still one of the fastest players in the Prem. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and, you know, if my back line for England, if I was the manager, not now, one day, but if it was right now,
bring me along, please.
Honestly, of course, I'd have Maguire in my lineup. I mean, well, you know, I would have him, Tomori, Kyle Walker in the 3 center back role. In 3 center backs, you know, when it comes to wing backs, I mean, take your pick. So, put names in a hat. You pull them out. Listen, if you, as a Chelsea fan, you give me Reece James and Ben Chilwell at wingbacks, I'm happy.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, like I used to be like against like Kieran Trippier, like he shouldn't be starting for England, and then like I've seen him at Newcastle, and then I've seen him on the True Geordie podcast, and it's like you got me, like
He's a good guy, isn't he?
now I have to care about you, which is really tough.
Yeah, and I mean he was at
Atletico.
He was at Atleti, and now he's back in the prime and everything, and he's quality too. It's just hard, It's it's maybe just picking the profile of player you want in a certain match, but England is spoiled for talent across the back line and pretty much everywhere else right now. It's all on Southgate to see if he can put together a team with the chemistry that will perform on the pitch and that isn't going to have them booed by every English fan in the country.
Here's the thing, like that's the thing I'm curious about. Like, is booing like, see, it, like, because for example, PSG, right? They booed Neymar and Messi off the pitch the other day.
Yeah,
but like, was it rightfully so because they choked the Champions League again, right? Like, you have what should be one of the best forward lines in history with Neymar, Mbappe, and Lionel Messi. Granted, I don't think he's better than Ronaldo. Still, he is one of the best players in the world, or ever. If you're talking about a debate between two, there's only two. Ronaldo and Messi. That's it.
Yeah, and, when it comes to fans booing and whatnot, like, that's a situation where you need to boo the whole squad.
Yeah.
I understand, even though I'm not one for the negative responses like that. I think there's better ways to go about it. Messi, Mbappe, Neymar, none of them looked to lose the game on purpose.
I mean, especially not Mbappe. He was the one carrying that team.
But like you've been there when we've coached together a bunch, and I say it to all my players: not one of you are here to lose this game and to not help your team win.
Yeah.
So you tell someone, you lost the game. Well, congrats. Like, you just told them something they understand and they already know. They're already upset about. When you're Lionel Messi and you are competing for who's arguably the greatest player in history, the last thing you need is to not win a Champions League tie when you have Mbappe and Neymar suiting up next to you. You know? Like, he feels it as much as anyone does. Neymar feels it as much as anyone does. And Mbappe feels it probably more than everyone because he's the young star trying to prove himself.
It's just crazy because if we look back to the beginning of the season, the first ever episode that we released, right? We talked about who has the best starting 11 in the Champions League. We predicted, and we put PSG as like the top dogs. Because think about it, they had just signed Wijnaldum, Donnarumma, Hakimi, Sergio Ramos, and Lionel. Like, I don't think people understand like how great of a transfer window that is, getting 3 out of 5 players on a free transfer. Let's just think about that for a second. 3 out of 5.
Yeah, I mean, when you look back at that podcast, I'm kind of happy now to say that they lost, because if they want to have a FIFA career mode type transfer window, this is almost like they accidentally simulated a match in the Champions League and they got knocked out.
Yeah.
And it's that beep moment where you can't go back and change it. Hey, you're screwed. You gotta have to go through an entire year again in career mode to get to the Champions League.
My God.
It's just one of those things. But taking it all back to booing Maguire, it's not fair. He's there. He's shown how much he loves playing for the national team.
Yep.
I am going to be very eager to see what happens at the World Cup, because he needs not one good game. He needs one good moment, one goal, one goal line clearance, and he's the hero again. Fans are reactionary. It is every time Chelsea loses a match, my dad asks for everyone at Chelsea to get fired and for all the players to be sold. Everyone's reactionary. It's just one of those things where it's going to be hard. I think he is good enough to maybe help United secure that 4th place finish. Like I said, the 4th place finish in the Prem is going to be as exciting as any of the title challenge or the battle for relegation or any of this. fourth place race is going to be tremendous.
I don't know. Battle of relegation is tough right now because your boy, he just took over Everton.
Don't remind me, man.
Frank Lampard. I mean, here's the thing. He's been trying to get results together with that team. He brought in personnel to try and fix it, right? Here's the question I have. Do you put Everton's failings on Lampard, or do you put it on the club as a whole? Because I think it's a club as a whole.
Yeah, no, it has to be the club as a whole. I mean, if you look at the current league table, though, they're currently 5 points behind Leeds with 3 games in hand.
Yeah.
They've only played 28 matches. In all fairness, the same goes for Burnley, who's a couple spots below them. But I think him keeping Everton up this season is fine. I think he'll do it. I think the bottom 3 who are there right now, I think those are the 3 that are getting relegated. I mean, Norwich is getting relegated.
Yeah, there's a guarantee there.
And I don't think Burnley and Watford really have it in them to stay up this season.
I don't know, Wood Weghorst, bro. He's always, every game, it's somehow pulling a goal or assist for him.
Yeah. I mean,
that's probably one of the craziest transfers. Think about that. Newcastle went in and bought Chris Wood, and then Burnley upgraded Chris Wood with Wout Weghorst from Wolfsburg.
Yeah. I mean, and he scores a ton of goals. He scored a ton of goals out in Germany, didn't he?
Yeah.
But you look at Watford's results, and Watford. Yeah, I just don't think Watford, Burnley, Norwich are gonna have what it takes to get out of the relegation zone.
I think this is karma for Watford with holding players from going on international duty.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened. Me, I'm a big I'm a little superstitious with karma. Good karma comes back around. Or bad. But that's the thing when you hold players like Emmanuel Dennis and Atibo going on international duty for the AFCON, the world works in curious ways. So you're gonna get what's coming to you. I feel like.
Yeah. Karma is a bad thing.
Yep.
And, I mean, taking it back to Lampard, my love for Frank Lampard has no bounds.
Here's the thing. I love Frank Lampard because I've done something you haven't. I've met him.
I know.
And the funniest thing, it's 12:30 at night, right? It's late at night. Me and my best friend Christian, we're waiting to get some shirts signed. We're thinking, it's over. We're gonna go home. Out of nowhere, we see Frank Lampard and John Terry come back from a walk, by the river in Hoboken. 2 of my heroes. And then Gerard. No. Why did I say Gerard for? I don't know why. John Terry.
In your head, you were thinking, who isn't as good as Lampard? And then you said Gerrard.
Yeah, that is true.
No disrespect to Steven Gerrard. If there's any chance he ever listens to this, Stevie G's great. I mean, he's just no Lampard. But.
Yes. Anyway, so it's legitimately even though it was that late at night, he stayed for additional, I would say, 15, 20 minutes and had a genuine conversation with my friend and I. It was actually insane. I have nothing but respect for that guy.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Frank Lampard, John Terry, that whole old guard at Chelsea are a reason I fell in love with the beautiful game, and it's all I do now. But between running the youth club to the soccer shop to coaching in college, being assistant coach, that Chelsea old guard, I'm very happy for you that you met them. I also hate you for it. And Frank Lampard, he's just a gentleman. He's someone who you want to see succeed.
Yeah.
There's always that intense debate between Gerrard and Lampard and
Scholes.
And
Don't you dare disrespect Scholesy, bro.
Scholesy, yeah, he's fine. But I'm very happy to see Gerrard's success with Villa. He's going to keep them up. They've had some really good results matches under him. It's to be biased and say I hate Steven Gerrard because I'm a Lampard supporter would be wrong. I just want to see Lampard succeed more than Gerrard. But
I mean, Gerrard's right now killing it with Villa.
Mm-hmm.
They went on the bounce, and granted they've lost their past 3 games, but they had some really tough opponents to come up against. And also having a fragmented side and new signings you had to bet in Luca Digne and Philippe Coutinho. Granted you're still getting great performances from them.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing I love to see from these younger managers retire, get into the game. I mean, who would have ever thought we'd see Coutinho playing at Villa? It's something I love.
Yeah.
You now have you have Eriksen at Brentford, you have Coutinho at Villa, under unusual circumstances that these transfers happened. But it only adds to the allure of the Premier League, where you can show up to Villa Park and watch Philip Coutinho playing for Aston Villa.
Yeah,
with
that's
Steven Gerrard managing them. It's
Did you see that, like, supposedly they were trying to bring in, like, Luis Suarez on the free?
Yeah.
Dude, reuniting Gerrard, Suarez, and Coutinho, crazy. Back in the Premier League, but one's managing.
Yeah, it's honestly it.
All you're missing there is Raheem Sterling. That's all you're missing.
Yeah, and which wouldn't be too much of a surprise.
He's being phased out of the Man City team, but rightfully so, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's where we'd have to argue. I think Raheem Sterling is so underrated.
I think he's so overrated.
No,
I think he's a solid player.
He always produces.
Look, he's a solid player, but you gotta understand, in the England or Man City side, whatever side you put him in, what he does best is just it's just picking up space for other people. That's it. When you have, like, even when Aguero was still at City, people were just focusing on Aguero assisting and stuff like that, and Raheem Sterling would just be there. He's not a major contributor. Like, if we're talking about in comparison to Leroy Sané and Raheem Sterling's time at City, Leroy Sané was the better player at City. It's just that Sterling had more minutes. That's all it was.
Well, and he also grabbed a lot more goals, and
because he started more.
But
you're guaranteed goals in a City side, yes or no? They're one of the most creative teams in the world right now, dude.
Well, it depends. I mean, think of it this way: it's been a decade since Raheem Sterling entered the spotlight.
Yeah.
Right. He's 27 years old. He's 27. Arguably his best years are yet to come. He scores goals, grabs assists for the national team, for Manchester City. Pep Guardiola is arguably one of the greatest managers to ever manage and be a coach and be whatever. He continues to start Raheem Sterling. So, for anyone else to say otherwise...
Yeah, but if you look at Raheem Sterling's stats when he first got to City to now, they've all been on a downward climb, like bad. Like, goals and assists going down, pressing numbers going down, passing accuracy going down.
But he continues to start for Pep Guardiola, so he's doing something right. So his indirect involvement in goals and whatnot are a difference maker in Guardiola's eyes, I'd imagine. Or, I make jokes about Guardiola all the time, but he's created at Manchester City what people pretend Klopp has created at Liverpool. City competes for everything every year.
Yeah.
They've won multiple league titles.
But is that down to squad depth or manager ability?
Guardiola typically gets it right in the big matches. And there's a lot of big matches in the Premier League. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Guardiola wins a lot of titles. Listen, he hasn't won the Champions League yet.
he choked a big match against a certain team, Premier League team.
Yeah. Listen, I respect that. But when you look at it, Pep Guardiola hasn't won the Champions League yet.
Mm.
They're always favorites for the Champions League, but I think they win the Prem title this year. They typically win just about everything. Only person that's really stopped them, besides Klopp, is Chelsea and one of the 85 managers they've brought in since he's been at City.
Yeah.
People ask why. He's always rumored, he's going back to Barcelona or he's going here. He's created arguably one of the greatest sides in the world. Depth in every position, competes for every title every year. In arguably the most competitive and best league in the world. So for Guardiola to be anything but a success is a lie, in my opinion. He's overhyped at times. I'll agree with that. But when you look at what he's done, he's built a legacy and he's built a kingdom at Manchester City. Now, that compounded with the fact that United has faltered since Ferguson left. there's a bit of overhype happening over at Liverpool and Merseyside. They've won one Champions League, one Premier League title in 7 years that Klopp's been there. In 7 years, Guardiola has won like 5 league titles.
I think you have to give credit where credit's due, because Liverpool could have won a league for over 30 years. And then Liverpool, it was since 2005, since they last won the Champions League? I mean,
Yes.
we have to give credit where credit is due and being able to do something that has been done in a long time for a club.
Yes, but here's the difference. Here's the difference. This season, if City wins the Prem title, if City wins the Premier League title this year, it's just another season for Manchester City.
Well, here's my question.
Liverpool will have a 3-week parade if they win the Premier League
How
title.
many titles does City have?
What?
How many titles does City have? Premier League titles.
No idea off the top of my head.
Not as much as United, okay?
Well, okay.
20 league titles. That's all that matters.
Isn't it 21?
No, 20. No, it would have been 21 if we didn't choke it when we got second.
Okay, well, good. I just wanted to hear you say that.
Just imagine if Ole actually won the league last year.
Yeah, that would have been very impressive.
But he got second place.
Well, listen, and that, respectfully so, is also very impressive, honestly. But when you look at it, it's been 6 years roughly 6 years since Guardiola came into City, and just a quick look at the manager, honors he's had. He's won 4 if you count this year, because he's going to win it this year. He has 3 Prem titles, an FA Cup, 4 League Cups, 2 FA, Community Shields, and he was runners-up to arguably the greatest defensive side in Champions League history. Chelsea, thank you. But he's won more trophies in a 6-year span than some people win in their entire careers. It's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 trophies.
Yeah.
Tremendous. There was that one spell where he won like 4 trophies, where he was winning a trophy every 24 matches or something like that.
Yeah.
He was pocketing a trophy that he's.
Well, here's the question though. City have been a trophy club even before Pep was there. Is it the only trophy they were missing was a Champions League? So what's the difference now between the City that was under a Mancini or a Pellegrini in comparison to a Pep Guardiola City?
City was a title contender for a very long time. Now they're a title favorite every year.
I think they were a title favorite before that, dude.
I'd argue that and say, now, me being a Chelsea supporter, where we compete to an extent every 2-3 years for a title.
You guys are contenders.
We're contenders.
Yeah.
We have to beat City to the title. Liverpool has to beat City to. It can be August 1st. Everyone's on 0 points. Everyone has to beat City to the title. No one has to beat Liverpool. No one has to beat Chelsea. You have to beat City to the title. They have become the gold standard for what a title-winning side is, in the Premier League anyway. It's like in the Bundesliga. You have to beat Bayern Munich to the title. You have to beat. You have to. There's no other way you get to the title.
Yep.
In the Premier League, you have to beat City to the title. Now, it takes something extraordinary like, for example, Antonio Conte coming to Chelsea, revolutionizing, besides Juve, in the Italian national team, no one else played with 3 center backs in the world. Now, my U16 boys club team in the United States comes up to me if we're down at halftime. Oh, coach, go to 3 center backs. That's the solution. Now, mind you, I did it this last weekend. We won 2-0. But, it takes something like Antonio Conte coming in, revolutionizing English football and arguably the world, and bringing 3 center backs back to fruition. And still, the next year, who's the favorite to win the title? It's City again.
Yeah.
It's always Manchester City. Now, I think that's starting to change a bit. I think that overhype over the last couple of years from Liverpool is dying down a bit. You don't see every tweet, every article, everything in the world being about how great Liverpool is.
Sadio Mane is the best player in the world.
You're I had one of our friends who's a very biased Liverpool supporter try to tell me Mohamed Salah is the best player to ever play in the Premier League.
Yeah.
I almost slapped him.
Because like you're disrespecting Wayne Rooney right there, bro. That's like
I mean, he was trying to argue all this stuff with me. I'm like, man, I saw him the other day. I'm like, listen, Salah came and beat Sane in a big international match. I mean, listen, Egypt just keeps losing to Senegal. Like, I mean, Mane. I said Sane, Mane. But I think looking at all of the development of the Prem, I think it's just going to get more and more competitive starting next season. I think United needs to settle this whole manager debacle.
it's going to be Ten Hag without a doubt. I don't doubt that whatsoever. And then if we're looking at,
it just depends on what role Ragnick ends up having.
he's
right?
going to have like a consultant, like manager of football type role.
So like a Ten Hag wants to come in and revolutionize Manchester United and bring something in that they haven't had since Ferguson. There hasn't been fresh ideas at United in decades. With Mourinho came in, everyone knew what you were getting. Everyone knows what you're getting with Louis van Gaal, who
I sort of miss those days of Louis van Gaal, bro.
and him falling on the sideline,
freaking out for the FA Cup. Yeah, but the thing is, you could tell he cared about the club. That's the thing.
Yeah, and then he came out and talks bad about them last week.
Yeah, because here's the thing: you can care about Manchester United and the fans and stuff, but you don't have to care about the board. That's every United fan. We don't care about the board.
I love Louis van Gaal. I think he's great. Well, and I feel bad. He recently got diagnosed with cancer or something.
Yeah, he has something going on. Sadly.
Wishing him the best. But Louis van Gaal as a character. A lot of these United managers they brought in since have been, like Solskjaer, let's be real.
Okay, look.
When's the next time he's going to get a big manager job anywhere?
He was meant to be a caretaker manager, and I love Ole, but he was never going to be seen as the guy who takes us to the next level. Like, as soon as last season ended, it was tough not to give him that extension, that chance, because of how far he brought the team. But sadly, if you do that, you need someone like how they do it at AC Milan or at Ajax, who is a footballing brain at the helm, controlling the transfers and how players come in. That's what you need.
Well, so easiest comparison would probably be Chelsea with Roberto Di Matteo, who everyone forgets about. Was our manager when we won the Champions League in 2012.
Oh yeah, and then he got sacked.
Him and Abramovich are hugging it out and jumping and celebrating in Munich in 2012. Starts in August. By December, he's been sacked and replaced.
Yeah.
You look at it.
I think the only team to go through more managers is Watford.
Oh my God!
They went through 3 this season alone. 3.
It feels like half a dozen at least. They're worse than Chelsea is at this point.
They had Claudio Ranieri got a few decent results. Lost one game. Oh, we're bringing in Roy Hodgson. What's up, Roy? How you doing?
Oh my! And Roy Hodgson's a character all on his own.
Just real quick, you are listening top of the hour, WMSC Upper Montclair.
And, getting to all these managers and stuff is, as a Chelsea supporter, we have our fair share of guys coming in and out, coming in again, leaving again. When it comes to someone like a Thomas Tuchel, it's so hard not to love this man as a Chelsea supporter. Like, he said he would get in a 7-passenger van and drive the team to a game if that's what it meant for him to be in charge of Chelsea at a Champions League match.
Yeah. I mean, the guy, he loves the team. I don't doubt that whatsoever.
That brings flashbacks to when I had to drive a van around New York City to pick up players in my first year as an assistant coach at City College of New York.
I thought you were talking about when I used to be one of your players when you drove a whole bunch of us down to South Jersey.
I still do that. It'll be match day, and we'll be like an hour and a half away from a match or even a tournament. And thank God my mom has the Mercedes, the R class that has the 3 rows. My mom's like, hey,
trying to flex real quick. Yeah, the Mercedes.
No, it's an older one, but thank God it's 3 rows, right? And it's 3 rows, and I can roll in and pick up half dozen players like our parents can't
But
drive
also-
us. No, your parents don't want to drive you. Not that they can't.
No, but also fitting in 3 ball bags and like all the pennies and the cones.
Cases of water and snacks, and like you're going to a tournament. It's like you're going on a month vacation for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Because you worry about having granola bars and having drinks and having X, Y, and Z for players after matches, and like that's Thomas Tuchel's my spirit animal.
Your spirit
You know, as much as I might be a disciple of the Mourinho
era and stuff like that.
just everything. I love Mourinho.
Mourinho at Roma, dude.
What he said the other day in the press conference was brilliant. He oh, you're gonna go that easy on me? Why are you guys so tough in the papers, but nice and calm when you're here? Like you gotta love that.
Yeah.
But like Tuchel, he's a tracksuit vest wearing kind of manager, and listen, that's what I'm all about. I'm no Guardiola in a scarf that's bigger than a winter coat around, you know, in 55-degree weather. Thomas Tuchel, there's nothing I would give more than to see him at Chelsea for a decade. If he stays at Chelsea for a decade, we win another half dozen Prem Champions League titles, not of each, together over the next decade with him. He gets it right in the big games, you know.
Well, that's the thing, you don't really find a long-term manager anymore with a lot of clubs. Like everything is just like a 2 to 3 season rotation, and that's it.
But the most successful clubs in England, for example, look at Guardiola and Klopp.
Yeah.
They've been there for 6 and 7 years, roughly. They've had that. They're the most stable clubs in England, competing for titles.
That's what you need. Like United, Ferguson was 27 and a half years at Manchester United.
Yeah, and since then, you know, they're always. It's like walking on thin ice if you're a United manager. You know you're not going to get the time. You're not. Mourinho pulled off a spectacle in what he was able to achieve with the squad he had at United. And,
Second place, same thing as Ole.
You know, and it's like, yeah, but don't compare Solskjaer to Mourinho. You know, but it's, I just find it very incredible that there isn't more clubs that look to give them the time. I would take a year with no Champions League football to keep Thomas Tuchel and to give him time. Now, luckily, we're fortunate enough to be in 3rd place. We're going to secure that. We're the holders, having only conceded not even half dozen goals last year in the
here's
campaign.
the question. Are you worried what happens with the new owner coming in? Because, like, with Roman Abramovich, Chelsea really had this, like, brevity to themselves where they could just do whatever they want in the transfer market or buy or do whatever they want with contracts and takes those risks. What do you think happens with the next manager that comes in? I mean, next owner that comes in.
So I'm an optimist. Does me dirty sometimes. But
yeah.
I look at it and say I believe that whoever does get to buy Chelsea Football Club is going to be able to maintain the standards we've been at. And let's be real, at this point, we put out some of the best youth players in the world. You know, Ajax, Barca, Chelsea, at this point are all in the same regard. Look at our players across the world. You know, look at Tammy in Roma.
Yeah. Well, Tammy at Roma, is it because he's thriving under Mourinho's system or is it because he's finally blossoming as a player?
I think it's a little bit of both. And, you know, Roma's a great club. Mourinho's a great manager. And I think Tammy's a great player.
I mean, here's the thing. We've seen this with a former Chelsea player before, going to Italy and killing it. And then maybe coming back and then not hitting the mark as much.
Lukaku.
I was trying to be nice. He used to be a United player. I was trying to be nice.
Lukaku has been a tremendous wreck at Chelsea. Well, and I had all the biggest hope in the world for this man, but he's
so
done it
do I.
himself.
But also the issue is he doesn't fit how Chelsea wants to play.
Agreed entirely. But he makes the situation worse when.
Oh yeah, when he goes on interview.
Listen, I have to be nice because I don't want listeners to hear profanity, so
they're not allowed to hear profanity. Don't make me use the dump button.
No. I'm behaving with what I'm going to say about Lukaku. I'm going to behave.
Thank you.
Okay. Don't go around saying all this crazy stuff about wanting to be at Inter and whatnot when you just signed a deal for Chelsea.
And
just did at Inter.
The Inter president comes like, oh, we don't need him. We have Edin Dzeko. We're fine. We have money off of him. We're okay.
Imagine being Lukaku, having that interview, and then looking at what Dzeko's 37 years old. Like, yeah, we replaced you with a free transfer. We brought Dzeko in. He's just doing the same thing you were doing. Like,
at Inter Milan, all you just need is someone to work off of Lautaro Martinez, and you're fine.
It's at Chelsea. Lukaku was great in the counterattacks, being able to be decisive, be a big target.
Well, here's the thing, like Lukaku, I say this every time about him, and no one understands. He is basically a weird left wing, but is a striker. He likes working on the left side of the pitch, running down open amount of space, taking as big of a touch as he can, out sprinting, out bodying everybody, and ripping a shot at goal. That's the Lukaku way. That's all he does.
Yeah, and at Chelsea, it's never going to happen because every team we play just sits back.
I mean, Chelsea, it would happen under Mourinho. If it was a Mourinho Chelsea, he'd thrive.
Oh, yeah. But realistically speaking, even Mourinho at Roma now, the world game has evolved into this. Everyone's all about moving the ball, having the ball, attack. All the big sides.
Yeah.
Atleti is arguably the only side that really sits back still. And, they do it for reasons that, they don't have the attraction for big name players and whatnot. And listen, now don't get me wrong, they're reigning champs in La Liga. I'm not going to argue that.
I think they also have one of the better, I think depth-wise, they have one of the teams that have some of the better depth within their team.
Yeah, but if you go watch an Atleti game, you're not going to recognize like half a dozen names on the roster.
Yeah.
The matchday squad, there's going to be a half dozen guys you're going to look at and go, who the heck are these people?
Yeah.
But they're recruiting at Atletico Madrid. Tremendous. They do a very good... Listen, they brought Suarez in and then turned around and won the title with him. So.
But they also brought in João Felix for over $100 million, so...
But they also won the title last year, so hey.
Yeah.
And listen, and they won the race for Felix. So that says... Diego Simeone...
If you want somebody...
He's been there for a decade at Atleti. He's done a better job at Atletico Madrid than most managers have done anywhere. Anyone's done anywhere.
Wait, listen to this. So do you know that like all the Atletico, Real Madrid, Barcelona players, there's basically this gated community where all of them basically live. Like all these high-profile people in Spain live. And I was listening to this on the True Geordie podcast with Kieran Trippier. And it turns out that like Kieran Trippier like lived in the house in front of like Diego Simeone. And like Diego Simeone would be like on his bike, like driving around. He see a few players, say hi. Like on the pitch, he seems like this like hard guy who's like always like locked in and yelling. But then like he's always just like
I haven't seen that. And you know what? I might have to say like, listen, I love Diego Simeone, but he might be part of my spirit animal too in that case. There'll be a moment where I'm clowning around with my players, and the next time. They think I'm going to kill them. Now, just for reference, I've never killed any of my players. Okay,
there's no actual killing.
There's no kind of abuse or homicide that occurs amongst my teams.
No one is harmed physically.
Yeah, So, but like he's someone who like clearly everyone loves Diego Simeone. I have never found a person that doesn't like him.
Yeah.
Diego Simeone is a cult hero at Atletico Madrid. I think he's amazing, and I've never heard or seen a video, an interview, a podcast, anything where every player that's played for Simeone loves him.
Yeah.
Only complaints I've seen is he's too intense. I can understand that. Like, supposedly, I'm trying to figure out where it was, but I remember reading or watching something about his fitness coach. This older Argentinian guy, whoever it is. He goes, yeah, Diego told me to kill them in preseason. We just ran up mountains. Like, oh, shoot. Like, that is what I expect from him. Like, I expect them to be, like, at a construction site moving cinder blocks in preseason.
Or they'll be, like, what's it called? In the cement mixer in there and actually, like, moving
whatever that
themselves.
movie's from.
No, it's from Cobra Kai, bro.
From Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. But, like, I envision a Simeone preseason to toughen up players being... You see this building? We're demoing it. With what? Our hands.
I sort of feel like it's like the Navy SEAL test. That's what like a Simeone preseason is.
I think the Navy SEAL test is probably an appetizer for what Simeone expects from people. Like he's intense.
Yeah.
But That's why everyone loves him. You know, El Cholo, right? That's his nickname.
Yeah.
I think he is someone who you need to bring in to, like, picture this. Imagine the England national team just picture it for a moment. Imagine Diego Simeone being the manager of an English national team.
Yeah.
Or even at United, and somebody starting to boo Maguire, Simeone grabbing a chair from the bench and throwing it into the stands. You know? Or like imagine like Harry Maguire scoring an own goal, and we're like coming off the field upset, and Simeone just knocking him out. Like
he sub him off and then just like slap him.
Like and like look at him and like just drop him.
Yeah.
And Harry Maguire's not a small guy. Like Simeone would walk up to him, Simeone's forehead being maybe to the chest of Maguire, turning around and like threatening his life or something. Like that is what would bring United or England back to life.
Honestly,
Simeone threatening everyone, not just the players, not just everyone.
No, it's not having a good environment with the players. Everyone like each other. It's just like all out war. That's it.
No, everything. It's Simeone versus all.
Yeah.
Right. Every day of the week it's Simeone versus Manchester United, but then for 90 minutes during match day, it's United and Simeone versus the world. But as soon as the final whistle blows, you see him like chasing his players around the pitch, like kicking their butt. Like Simeone is what brings like that passion he brings.
Yeah,
reminds me of like Antonio Conte at Chelsea when we won the title that year with Conte. Like he was jumping on top of the bench areas and stuff on the little shelters and like tearing things apart. Like that is the kind of passion. I think football has become very calculated.
Yeah, it's very much been a numbers game lately.
It's all about everyone being these tactical geniuses and stuff. I have no problem with teams winning just because they have more heart than the other team does. That's the one thing that you can't account for statistically.
We're literally talking about Brentford versus Chelsea. That's what it was.
Yeah, listen, and you can have a favorite on paper. You can have who's ever this or who's ever that. The one thing statistics don't account for is your heart and passion. I've said this a million times to all my teams.
Mm-hmm.
We went in, I mentioned it earlier, we won a match 2-0 last week with my 2005 U17s. We got promoted in our league. We're in a higher division, and we sit there at halftime. It's 0-0, and I turned to them and I'm like, "Listen, guys, it's been a good match. On paper, on everything, you guys are pretty. It's a stalemate. The only thing that's going to account for it is the heart and passion you guys put into the second half. We made a couple tactical changes, 3 center backs. We went into a 3-4-3. Played the like 2 10s behind the 9 and stuff. Oh, it was brilliant. Kids had no idea what we were doing, but it worked. No, in case any of them ever listen to this, because I'm gonna reshare this on my social media, and they're gonna go listen to it. So,
like, oh my God, Coach talked about us.
No, yeah, Coach talked about us. Oh, listen,
him and Coach Ardi.
To all my players hearing this or that will ever hear this, I don't like you guys. Now,
like me, please. I'd like to come back and be your coach. Thank you.
But like they went out and pulled out a 2-0 victory. Kid named Piotr scored 2 goals.
Oh, Piotr.
But it was like a brilliant second half display, full of heart and passion. Simeone would have shook my hand at the end of the match and would have hugged my players if he had seen the way they pulled off a result. But that's like I told my players, those are the kind of games as a youth coach that I live for.
Mm-hmm.
The games that get decided on the little things. Blowing a team out 10-0. Getting blown out 10-0. All of that doesn't do anything for anyone. Nobody enjoys it. Listen, the kid who plays up top scores half a dozen goals and pads his stats, and turns around and texts his mom, "Hey, I scored 6 goals today. Congratulations. You played a team." That's like when Chelsea, in the first round or whatever, the third or fourth round of the FA Cup, draws like non-league. Luton Town, I don't think is non-league. I think they're League 2 now, but no offense to Luton Town.
Or it was like when Real Madrid drew Sheriff.
Yeah.
And Sheriff brought the upset,
Well, yeah. But like if you go beat up on a team, it's great and all. Sure, congrats. Now, Brentford beating up on Chelsea is a different story. But it means something more. It's a lot more impressive when you can pull out a victory against a team. Well, 2 weekends ago, we played a side. We beat 1-0. We were the dominant side. Had a bad match. And beat them 1-0. The performance we had last weekend, if we played that first team again, we'd probably beat them by a dozen goals.
Mm-hmm.
I left that match and had really nothing to say. Like, yeah, if we put our chances away, we beat them by a dozen goals. Great.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like I mean, luckily this past couple months or so, I've been fortunate enough to work with your teams and stuff. I know what team you're talking about, and these boys, I've explained it to them so many times. Like, it's not the question of ability with you; it's the question of whether or not you get out of your head or not. Because a lot of times they you see it themselves. They overthink a lot, and if they just tone it down, just cleared their heads and just played the game, they would be so much more clear.
And I agree. I think that's one of the big struggles that players face across every level, but more or less the youth players. I know this has now become a youth soccer talk.
Well, this is Matchweek. It's anything and everything.
I think youth players at times struggle because of technology and social media and everything. They see everything that's happening around the world and how all their friends and how everyone is doing. And, it's always full of over-exaggerations about everyone's success and this. And, if I don't score goals this weekend, I'm a horrible player because my friend scored 3 goals for XYZ Club United or whatever. I think social media and technology, while it has made life easier in certain aspects, has made life a little more stressful. But listen, we're 2-0 on the season, so I'm not going to complain. We pulled 6 points from 6. So, going into this weekend where we have 2 matches this weekend, it's when you are able to win a match on an off day and compete when you're not putting all your chances away. That's what champions are made of. When Chelsea's not winning the Prem title this year. Why? Because against a lot of those smaller matches where they should be pulling results, like Brentford, no disrespect to Brentford, Chelsea should be beating Brentford comfortably.
Yeah.
All of Chelsea's losses this year have come against teams, or draws anyway, have come against teams they should be beating. My argument is that was the Eden Hazard effect at Chelsea, where all these close matches, Eden Hazard was always the difference maker.
Well, I mean, a lot of these times, let's say earlier in the season, you were suffering through injury droughts of whether it was a Christian Pulisic who has been seen to have that type of effect on Chelsea lately, or whether it's, Timo Werner just not scoring a goal when he's right in front and it's a wide open net, or whether it's Lukaku who's just not hitting his stride.
Well, I think a big loss, honestly, has simply been Chilwell and Reece James for a long period. I mean, Chilwell for the season.
Yeah.
And Reece James. I mean,
because sadly, look, Marcus Alonso, I think he thrives in any other league, but he's just not a Premier League player.
Or just as a number 9. Now,
or as a number 9, probably.
I think Alonso is a great player to have where you need to change things up once in a while, or you're going to play a team like a Burnley who's going to sit back on you.
Yeah.
And essentially put Alonso at left wing back, he's playing forward.
Yeah.
He's someone who's going to be dangerous in and around the box, in the air with the ball at his feet, whipping a dangerous cross. When it comes to Chelsea having played their best football under Tuchel, it comes with Chilwell and Reece James being in the lineup.
Yeah.
It's now, and there's no disrespect to any other players. That's just fact. They are the best 2 players for Chelsea's current style of play. Losing them has been very tough. Now, luckily they'll be back. Reece James is back now. Chilwell will be back eventually. Honestly, but I'm just worried at Chelsea. I mean, it looks like we're just giving players away. Rudiger and Christensen are on their way out. I'm trying to figure out who's playing center back at Chelsea next season. I mean, listen, I'm available on a free transfer, but I barely make the cut for a 7v7 team that we play with on Sunday nights.
Okay, okay. You know what? I'm gonna take a quick 5 minutes to ask you a question. I leave the game at halftime. I score us a goal to get us 2-1 up. Explain to me how we concede 3 goals.
Oh, you scored. It was clearly an off night. You know, it was just wasn't. It was just one of those nights where nothing. You shoot, and the ball's rolling towards an empty net, and it's like a gust of wind blows it wide. Like it was one of those kind of. Now, not that happened, but it was just one of those nights. I cried myself to sleep that night. Listen,
You slept well that night.
I sleep well every night. It was tough. It was tough, and now I know the guys that we play with will be listening to this at one point or another, and I won't let them know they let us down.
They did. We were the goal scorers. What were they? What were they?
I played center back, and I had to score from half.
That was a field. That was
we couldn't score tap-ins that night.
I'm Mr. Tappin.
Well,
by
you're
the way.
thinking like a tap-in. You put your foot through that ball. I thought you were about to rip the net off the goal post.
Better safe than sorry. Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, no. Listen, it's. I have no words to describe that, but you know, luckily I made a decision a long time ago. You know, now that I'm at the old age of 26, I made a decision a long time ago that I wasn't going to play seriously.
That's how crazy it is, dude. Like, think about it. Like, I'm 22, you're 26, and like, yet there's a Jude Bellingham who like debuted for England at 17.
And you know what? Like, how old is Jude now? 18?
I think he's just turned 8. Like, he's like 18 and a half or something.
Right? Yeah. So he's a 2004. What are the odds Jude Bellingham would want to come guest play with my 2004 team in a tournament or something? You think?
Hey, you never know, bro.
I mean, considering he's a professional, I'm not sure if that would be allowed. But, like, we could totally get Jude Bellingham carded. And, like, listen, I can't pay his wages. I can buy him lunch or something.
Just tell him it's like a Make-A-Wish.
We'll give him.
He'll do it.
We'll give him some free club apparel or something, and he can like make an appearance. You know, like, you know how in like those Sunday league matches where like Kaká is now playing non-league in England or wherever he is.
Yeah.
Like, you imagine strolling up to an EDP Premier game, and like Jude Bellingham is warming up on the. I would pack up and leave.
Did you see him at like 16 playing in like the England Under-23 World Cup, and like he looks like a fully developed Clarence Seedorf? It's insane.
He was a man amongst children. Yeah. When age-wise he was a child. He was old enough to be their sons.
Oh my God, man.
He is but like maybe I'll send him a tweet or something, see if he wants to come guest play. Like next time he's not picked for like an international break or something, or maybe like this summer while he's on vacation.
Oh, dude, we'll do a charity match, but it's like an EDP flight game.
Yeah, no, it'll be like a state cup final or something. Like, hey man, come play in this charity match. Don't worry, just enjoy yourself. Only score a hat trick.
Yeah.
And like he gets subbed on, scores a hat trick, and we still lose by 7 goals. No. But like he's one of those players that's so much fun. There's so many young English players. You know, we've been talking a lot about the Prem today.
I mean, Conor Gallagher.
He's unreal, and the fact that you mentioned a Chelsea player like that.
No, but like I don't care if it's Chelsea or not. Conor Gallagher has been going supernova this season. Well, you have to. I'm sorry. Hold on. You have to turn the knob right there. That's the volume for your headphones.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, the above you, right there, next to the stand. Hold on, look forward. Right there. You see the silver thing? Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh wow. Yeah. Look at that. I've just been wearing these this headset for no reason for the last hour and a half.
Welcome to Matchweek. Welcome to Matchweek, guys. But yeah, like totally. Someone like Conor Gallagher has just been going supernova this season.
Being a Chelsea supporter. I know I've said that 85 times during this.
Really? You support Chelsea?
So,
I had no idea.
The license plate covers on my car don't say it. Conor Gallagher is an animal. Billy Gilmore. I love Billy Gilmore.
Yeah, Billy. I don't know what's been going on with him at Norwich. He's been like keep phased in and out of that team. Like, so I guess it's just that team as a whole, because you have someone like Brandon Williams who's supporting him as well, who's also been playing well for that team.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Conor Gallagher, Billy Gilmore.
Mm-hmm.
We have Mason Mount. We have Kai Havertz. We have Christian Pulisic. We have Reece James, Chilwell. I wish we had Tomori and Gahey.
Oh my God! Did you let Gahey go for $20 million?
Supposedly, if it's true and there are buyback clauses for Tomori and Gahey.
Yeah, but that's such a Chelsea thing. There's always a buyback clause for somebody. Like there'll be this guy who like they signed out to like the Indian third league in like random of East like Bumble, and somehow Chelsea will have like a $500,000 buyback clause just in case.
And half the time, the really good players, they have the buyback clause and they don't even execute it. So what's the point of even having it? Like we had it with Torgan Hazard, who's
for Dortmund
an animal, such a good player, and like, nah, we're okay.
We don't need him.
And then he goes to Dortmund. He's
God.
My hope. Once again, being this optimist that comes back to bite me in the butt sometimes, is we're letting Rudiger Christensen go because we have buybacks on Tomori Gahey, and we're gonna pair them with Silva, Malang Sarr, who no comment.
Trevor Chalobah.
And then Chalobah, like having them, like Gahey Tomori is a solid back line. Throw Silva in there for a back three it is solid. It's quality.
Yeah.
However, knowing Chelsea, they've done a couple brilliant things lately. So I have a feeling that we're going to go through a period where Chelsea center backs mirror Harry Maguire.
I don't know if they can go that extreme. But okay, so real quick.
That's off a cliff.
So here's the thing. We've been talking England and Premier League nonstop. Here's the question I have. USA World Cup. What does it look like for us?
Oh, man. It's either going to be very good or very bad.
Here's the thing. I think it's going to be very good, and here's why. When you have players coming up like Josh Sargent at Norwich,
Yes,
or
love Sargent.
Or you have a Christian Pulisic, a Gio Reyna, Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Sergine Dest, DeAndre Yedlin,
Yunus Musa, Tim Weah.
Both different Robinsons, the center back Robinson
Yes.
for Atlanta,
Miles and
the
Anthony.
left back.
Have you seen Robinson, the left back? He wears his shin guards like a second grader. Like he wears them all the way down on like the top of his foot. And then he goes on these 85-yard runs, it's tremendous. He plays with this childish enthusiasm when he plays. I just love it.
Yeah, but you see how I don't know if you realize this, but there was one game where there was a professional player who had the smallest shin guard you'll ever see, and the other sock it was like a roll of tape.
I mean, listen, God bless them if that's what works for them. I mean, looking at this United States national team right now, the men's national team, I just wonder how Berhalter is going to get all these players into the same team.
Well, here's the thing. You have to pull out all stops. I think sadly in the past, it's either been players who play outside the MLS haven't gotten call-ups, or there hasn't been that much of an MLS utilization and vice versa. You really have to just get the best players possible. The issue is we make it way too political with how we pick players for the national team. It's just got to be cut and dry. We see X, Y, and Z players. We see how phenomenal they are, and we just go with it.
And don't get me wrong, there are some players in the MLS that are good players for the national team. I'm a huge Aaron Long fan.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Not just because I'm also a New York Red Bull supporter.
Shout out Arjun.
Yes, sir. And the fact that we're at Montclair State University, home of Red Bull 2.
Yeah.
Which is also hosting the second round of the U.S. Open Cup match tonight between FC Motown and AC Syracuse Pulse.
Oh, the replay, right?
No, they won the replay. They won the replay after that crazy show. But Montclair State is also home to FC Motown right now.
So, hold on, just to get some clarification for the listeners who don't know. So, FC Motown is a semi-professional team, and when they played the one game...
The first round of the U.S. Open Cup, guy comes up, from my understanding,
correct us if we're wrong, please, reach out.
Yeah, it's actually, I have a text from the Motown owner asking me for ball boys, if any of my players or ball girls. If they want to be ball boys or ball girls tonight at the game.
It can't be Matchweek listeners. You just have to wear Matchweek apparel. That is
So in their first match, they play Westchester from PA, who phenomenal club, and supposedly a player gets hurt, gets subbed off, and then miraculously just pulls the guy that came on for him back off and goes back into the game. Like, just decides, like, hey, oh, no, I'm good. I'm going back on. Like, that's not how soccer works.
No, not the same professional level. No.
No, like the U.S. Open Cup, for those who don't know, any of the listeners that don't know, is what the FA Cup and the Copa del Rey are in Spain and the Premier League in England. That's what the U.S. Open Cup is. Yeah. It's long, historic cup competition, and Motown had to replay. They lost the first round, replayed it 1-1-0. I believe it was a late Ryan Peterson goal that won the match. But tonight they play AC Syracuse Pulse, who I believe are professional side, and Nisa. So I mean, talk about being a hub for soccer here in North Jersey. Montclair's killing it, man.
Yeah.
And I say that with all of my other apparel on from the college I worked at.
Here's the thing, it's crazy because like if you look at Montclair's intramural league, like
I heard they have some real studs playing in the league.
Did you not see top goal scorer right now, man?
Is that you?
No comment.
Oh man, never mind. Now, so going back to the national team, I think there are some very good players in MLS. However, you can't tell me that McKinney, Tyler Adams, Yunus Musa, for example, are 3 starting center midfielders going into the World Cup. Now, if there's going to be a couple changes for some other players for tactical reasons, injury reasons,
if we're gonna talk about a midfield three is guaranteed McKinney, Adams, and Reyna.
Reyna also plays out wide at times, doesn't he?
Yeah, but he thrives more as a central cam though.
Yeah, I mean, once again, this all depends on what Berhalter decides to do for the formation.
Oh yeah, he could just decide to go like 3-5-1-2 or something.
Sort of like with the boots he wears, the shoes he wears. Not boots. He doesn't wear boots. He wears normal trainers, as they call them in England. Yeah. He wears normal sneakers. You can never predict what kind of Nikes he's wearing on match day. You can't predict what lineup he's going to put out. But like Yunus Musa is bossing La Liga.
Yeah.
McKinney, Adams, getting Reyna, Pulisic, and I mean, who you to put up top? But Weah up top, maybe. I mean, it depends.
I think it has to be a combo of Weah and Sargent. I like if we're gonna talk about a player who can handle pressure.
Yeah,
I think Josh Sargent is the one,
and he's so much fun to watch, isn't he?
I know, like he looks
a good guy.
Like, here's the thing, right? It's like you look at him and like he has that like sort of like it's like as if you're watching your kid playing high school look. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He just seems so like innocent. Like he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And then it's Serginho Dest has to start at right back if it's not him or it's DeAndre Yedlin.
If we want both of them, Dest has been playing left back a lot of the season in the La Liga.
Yeah, even though I do love Anthony Robinson.
So do I. But I mean, it depends. I think it just depends on the game. But personally, I do not see a U.S. side where we just don't have DeAndre Yedlin. Like, granted, yes, he's been at Galatasaray lately, not at Newcastle anymore.
But Galatasaray, he just played against Barcelona in Europa League. That's no small feat.
But he's still one of the best right backs we have. In fact, the best right back. I just don't see how we find a way. Like, we're sort of the England conundrum. Who do you start?
No, I agree. No, I agree wholeheartedly. Now, when I look at it, I kind of think, what are the other... what are the other changes we can make to the national team? Right now, we seem to have our center backs, Miles Robinson, whoever else they decide to play back there. But then you have some players who, shout out to New Jersey native Matt Miazga.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was at Chelsea. He spent some time in the Netherlands. He's right down the road from Clifton here in North Jersey. He's currently at Deportivo Alaves in La Liga. Yeah, they're like at the bottom of the league.
Yeah, but still,
He's playing. He's training at the La Liga level every day.
But also, when you have someone like Matt Miazga, he was the best center back when he was playing the MLS.
Mm-hmm.
And then now he's applying his trade elsewhere. So wouldn't you much rather want someone like that?
Yeah. No, and he also hates our rivals Mexico more than anyone else does. So,
But he also has that prior experience with someone like Aaron Long, they were teammates for the longest time. So would you much rather have that chemistry in the back line?
I mean, personally, I look at it and think the national team for me is kind of wonky.
Yeah.
Because you have all these different players, and listen, at the end of the day, it all comes down to who Greg Berhalter wants to start and play. Now, Zimmerman, Robinson, backline pairing isn't the worst thing in the world. Don't get me wrong; they're good. They're good players. It's fine. I prefer Aaron Long, but I don't know. That's maybe the one position on the field where I'm not certain that we have, the kind of quality that's going to help us out of a group stage at the World Cup. With no disrespect to those players.
Oh, yeah.
You just look at the quality everywhere else on the pitch. At the end of the day, though, I think, I have faith, if it's a Walker Zimmerman and a Miles Robinson partnership at center back, or Aaron Long.
Well, here's the thing. They're going to have some security in goal, no? Because you're going to have someone like Zach Steffen.
Yeah, Steffen or Horvath. Listen,
It's going to be Steffen. For someone who's training with Man City nonstop, you got to understand, that level of training with someone like Ederson, who's considered one of the best in the world, I think that can't be, put to the side because he's not playing as much.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I look at a Zach Steffen and think, listen, he plays all the cup games for City, doesn't he? Anyway?
He plays every single FA Cup,
he
Carabao Cup game.
So it's not like he's not playing at all. But then you still have Jonathan Brooks to look at. Brooks is in the Bundesliga stuff.
Yeah, Wolfsburg still, or he should have moved back.
And looking at him, John Brooks, you'd have to say it would take extraordinary measures for him not to start at the World Cup.
Yeah.
It'd have to be an injury or...
But then again...
a Harry Maguire run of form.
Has he been called up recently?
No, that's a good question.
Because he was a part of that run where when they lost to Trinidad and Tobago when they costed themselves the 2018 World Cup. So I don't know if he's going to bring him back after that letdown.
Yeah, looking at a depth chart from, and this is going to be a shout out to chasingacup.com. John Brooks, Wolfsburg. Chris Richards from Bayern. Mark McKenzie's at Genk.
Yeah.
Now, Miles Robinson, we spoke about, from Atlanta. Matt Miazga is in there as well. Eric Palmer Brown. James Sands, who I know he plays the 6 sometimes, but him at center back isn't the end of the world. I just don't think.
Just imagine being in La Liga, you have Jose Henrico, and then you have David Alves, and out of nowhere it's and then Matt Miazga.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time he played for the national team. Matt Miazga.
I think it was It was the Olympics, no? When he got the red card?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. For me, one of my personal favorites, who I think is so undervalued at times, is the experience that someone like a Tim Ream brings to the national team.
Yeah.
A lot of young guys, a lot of quality, yeah, but also a lot of inexperience to an extent. Tim Ream has been at Fulham, playing the Prem in the Championship for as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
I've never understood how you bypass a player like that.
It's politics, dude. I feel like that's the biggest issue with the United States national team. With England and all of them, it's a different level of politics because, the FA has some say in X, Y, and Z. But with the U.S., it really is like like who's type ordeal.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at it, right, over the last decade, Tim Ream has made nearly 350 appearances for Bolton and Fulham. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Him along with Geoff Cameron when he was.
That's a name I haven't heard in a minute.
Prime, like, I love Geoff Cameron. He was one of the first players I always bought in FIFA career mode. Him and Tim Ream, like they were always.
The Wombo combo. Come on.
Like you're playing. And anytime I get my FIFA career mode one of these lower teams, like there are two players I'd always go to, but like I still get confused as to how you don't bring experience like that into the fold. Tim Ream is someone who's once again he's been playing for a decade. He has to get called into the national team. I mean, he was in the squad when they won the Nations League last year. You have to call him back into the squad. But I mean, that once again is all going to depend on the.
Well, here's the thing: so our group right now it's UK, Iran, and then it's either going to be Scotland or Wales. Who is going to be the tougher out of Scotland or Wales? I think either or is going to cause big issues for the U.S.
I think Wales simply because Gareth Bale.
Oh yeah, for Wales he turns up no matter what.
He turns up. I mean, I guess there's no available time slots to go golfing when he's with the national team. But like he's an animal with the national team, and for either of those countries to be in the World Cup in a big international tournament. I mean, listen, for us it's a big thing because we didn't make the last one. Yeah. But they are going to be very, very interesting to watch regardless of which team it is. I mean, listen, Scotland is no pushover.
I mean, this World Cup's going to be an interesting one because this is going to be the first World Cup where you will not have the champion of the Euros in the World Cup.
Yeah, how wonderful is that? Where our family comes from, we're the ones to knock them out, too. Shout out to Tchaikovsky, who's currently playing the Saudi Arabian top flight, having scored that goal to send North Macedonia through to the playoff final.
I mean, yeah, 100%. I mean, dude, that's the thing, right? It's like, okay, for just to clarify, we are Albanian, but borders confused Balkans. Anyways, back to our topic. So here's the thing, right? It's tough because when you have someone like Scotland, they're an all-around will cause problems type team, but then for Wales, it's always like, you're gonna have Dan James, who's going to turn up and score 50 goals. That's Daniel James for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, look at the midfield pairing for Scotland.
Yeah, Scotland, it's going to be Scott McTominay, Fleck, Gilmore, or...
that's the word. Gilmore
John McGinn.
John McGinn, yeah.
Yeah, he has to start, dude.
He's quite the player, isn't he now?
He really is, dude. I love that guy. Honestly, I wish United would sign him. I don't care. Get rid of Pogba. We got John McGinn. No. If Ralph Ragnick is listening, please, no. Okay, don't stroke my ego that much, dude. There's no shot.
Well, yeah, but
no. So then, here's the thing: Scotland's gonna be tough, and then Wales is gonna be tough, and. Do we underestimate Iran? Because the World Cup. As soon as the World Cup comes around, every team turns up.
It's going to be every match. The U.S. has to be at the same level Tim Howard was at against Belgium.
You had 16 saves.
Like that is the level every player has to. Christian Pulisic can't go missing in the match. He has to be.
Every shot has to be on target.
Being a Chelsea supporter, he has to be the Eden Hazard for what Eden Hazard was to Chelsea for the U.S. national team.
Just to clarify, guys, Besmir is a Chelsea supporter.
Yeah, I mean, not that would ever put me down from coaching at any of the other clubs in England, just to be clear. But Pulisic has to be a difference maker for the U.S. national team. He can't. This is what I fear for the U.S. national team. Is sort of what we saw against Mexico. One big opportunity.
Yeah.
Falls to you in an open net, you shank a shot, put it wide from inside the 6. Team takes the goal kick, puts it down, plays the other way, scores a goal, you lose 1-0 because you didn't put an easy chance away. I'm trying to figure out who on the team has that killer mentality to be able to do that, and right now it's tough to find. Now, so going back to Tim Ream, Fulham first place in the championship.
Yeah.
He holds out. He has shown he has the experience. He was in the side in the Nations League.
It's just tough because like all these other like nations, they have these top flight, like high club honors players, and yet we're begging to have a championship level center back. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's no disrespect to him. Don't get me wrong. Like Tim Ream is a phenomenal center back, where any Premier League club could honestly take him.
Now, in all fairness,
it's just tough to find that standard for us. You know what I'm saying? Like where the U.S. is just able to find a way.
So I have 2 points here to make. The first being, the championship is arguably more difficult to plan than 90% of leagues in the world.
Well, yeah, because it's a 48 league season, no? 48 game league season?
44, 48.
Either way, a 40
whatever.
plus game season is insane.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
But it's physical, the quality there for teams fighting to play in the English Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
MLS is a quality league.
It's decent.
If I had to choose where I wanted to play, I'm playing the championship.
Yeah.
Right? Now, with no disrespect to MLS, listen, I think over the next decade or two, MLS becomes one of the top leagues in the world.
Well, no, I don't think it's ever going to happen because if franchise sports does not work in soccer.
I don't think it breaks into the top 5, but Sachi Hot said it best. He played at Red Bulls.
Yeah.
Assistant coach at Fordham, head coach for FC Motown. He said in a podcast, he said, if I had to put my money down on any individual kind of business on a businessman or a business person, he said it would be the American business person. Those who run MLS are the same people that run the NFL and the NBA and some of the best businesses in the world.
Yeah, but those businesses are losing less and less people that are interested, and they're losing viewers.
I would argue and say otherwise. I mean, look at
look at City, for example. Like City, like granted, they're ran like a well-oiled machine. You see, well-oiled machine.
Yes, I got you.
Yeah, you like that? But yeah, like City are a moneymaker. Manchester United are a moneymaker, and yet they thrive in these leagues where if you get relegated, for example, what's going to happen to an Everton, if they get relegated, they have no clause of where there's no relegation clause where they still pay these 300,000 like wages. Like you lose money, and that's the issue with these franchise sports in soccer. They tried doing that with the Super League. Super League got shot down.
Yes.
You have to understand, with there being a franchise, with there being only guarantees and no risk, there's no higher reward and there's no higher interest.
Yeah, but I'm also an optimist to think that eventually the MLS will come to a point, and I think it happens this decade, where promotion relegation does happen in this country.
Because you gotta understand where we're at. We're almost at 30. Like we're almost close to 30 teams in the MLS.
Something like that. Yeah, I mean, honestly speaking, I don't follow MLS too closely right now.
But exactly my point. You have to understand, if you can at least cut 10 teams, and then you find 10 more teams in the USL. You're telling me you can't have a promotion relegation system that will be very interesting and high in earnings?
Now, remember, we're 25 years old as a league, as MLS.
Yeah.
And arguably speaking, we don't like the way it's being done right now, but they have shown that right now is the best way to run a professional soccer league in this country because all the others failed. So for me, I'm fine with them bringing MLS every major market in the country.
Yeah.
And eventually I'm confident that they will see the money in promotion relegation and it will happen. And listen, at the end of the day, if it doesn't, the U.S. has, this could be a whole other, we are going to have to do a podcast on the structure of youth soccer and soccer in this country.
Yeah.
We arguably have some of the best infrastructure in the world to develop talent in this country. There are certain parts of our system that are broken, large parts of our system that are broken, but you're looking at the U.S. becoming a world superpower in football if we were to fix our system. If U.S. soccer was able to
capitalize on the athletes more.
I mean, if they were just to be able to kind of, round everyone up and say, hey, this is our vision, this is what we're looking to do now. Right now, it's been, hey, MLS, run the show, make your money, grow soccer. They might not be doing it too well, but hey, you look at some places and it's working pretty dang well, in Atlanta, you know. Now there's a lot of downfalls. It's a whole other conversation we can have.
Yeah.
You know, but going back to the U.S. national team at the World Cup, if we were to see a Tim Ream and Geoff Cameron at the World Cup for the U.S. national team, I'd be arguably one of the happiest people in the world.
Oh yeah.
I love Geoff Cameron. You know, yeah, he's here. He played forever in the Prem and in the Championship. Comes to MLS as one of the big name center backs in the league from the Championship.
Yeah.
That says the level, right? Tim Ream comes and starts for any side in MLS, and he's in the Championship right now.
He'd be a designated player online.
Yeah, he'd have to be. Yeah, you know, so that says
That's also another big issue is the wage structure in the MLS. Unless you're a designated player or a foreign player and you're part of the MLS union, you're making what $100,000 a year in comparison to, let's say, a Davia when he was at NYCFC. He was making over $3 million a season.
yeah. And listen, once again, that's one of the failures in the system. But if that is what they think is going to work, until MLS falls apart, you can argue and just say they're doing things right for now.
Yeah, for now, like within TV, obviously they're bringing in more viewers than what a lot of people could ask for. Because you gotta understand, like if we're looking at Nielsen ratings, they were pulling in more viewership in the regular season than the NFL was in their opening the opening first few games of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at, well, it depends on the market, right? I mean, you look at the New York Red Bulls. Red Bull Arena is, it makes the Etihad with City look sold out, and Etihad doesn't sell out.
Yeah, but that's also been another thing. It's like teams like the Red Bulls, NYCFC, like ticket sales are there a little bit, but your NYCFCs, they're playing in Yankee Stadium where it's very awkward seating for fans, and they don't really enjoy the atmosphere.
The one thing I am upset about with the Red Bulls is they haven't brought in. Now, I understand the whole idea and not want to be a retirement league or whatever, but I'm blessed to have been able to watch Thierry Henry play for my local club. Like, for the New York Red Bulls. Like, Thierry freaking Henry. Like, the level of swagger on a field is at maximum when he's on the pitch.
100%.
Like now, listen, they brought in Fletcher. You know, he's from Watford. Okay, you bring a Prem player in. I respect it. Right, but I have no problem with bringing in someone like Mertens right now at Toronto.
Dries Mertens. Well, no, not Toronto. Toronto, it was Insigne, supposedly.
Insigne,
but
you go.
Insigne's
Sorry,
only
Insigne.
29, bro.
I know, but like
That's not even retirement.
Like bringing like an Insigne in, you know, listen, he's not the level of Thierry. With all due respect,
but still, he'll murk any MLS defender, no problem.
A big player like that coming in, like that gives me a reason to go watch the game. Be able to go watch Thierry Henry ply straight. Listen, if Tim Ream was to come back to MLS and play for the Red Bulls, I'd go watch a couple games just to watch Tim Ream play.
Every time Red Bulls played DC United, I was there. I watched my Wayne Rooney play live. I'll take that.
Oh yeah, I watched Didier Drogba play for Montreal.
Yeah,
because in case viewers don't know or listeners don't know, I am a Chelsea fan.
Yeah. Just to clarify, Besmir Zuta is a Chelsea Football Club fan. Just clarify.
Like I sat there, dragged my mom, and my little brother along as well, and I watched Didier Drogba score a penalty at Red Bull Arena on the team I support, and I celebrated it. It was Didier freaking Drogba scoring. Yeah, I then saw like that. I believe that was the game where like Sasha Kljestan and stuff were also on. Like that's the kind of match you want to watch, dude.
Yeah.
It's Didier Drogba. He arguably one of the most clutch players to ever play in the Prem. Like you put him in a cup final today at like 40 years old, he's gonna bury a goal.
He'll somehow find the header or something.
You know? He's gonna score a goal to beat United in a cup final even today. If he's being marked by Harry Maguire.
Actually, no, yeah, true. Yeah.
You know, but that's the allure of having these big name players. I mean, to have Didier Drogba, like, I'm starstruck even just remembering having watched Didier Drogba play. Like when we drove all the way up to
Oh yeah, we went to
Boston.
In one day, we drove there in the morning, got there.
It took us like 5 hours to get there because we had like 5 stops on the way there.
Okay, but New London was. You cannot tell me New London was not fun. We still haven't gone back. We said we would.
Yeah, I was actually there like a year and a half ago. I'm not gonna lie.
Wow, that hurts.
A year ago,
Hurts
but
my soul. Hurts my soul. You think you know people. You think you know people.
Like, it's like we got to go watch Chelsea play when they were playing in that game against the New England Revolution.
Yeah.
The whole Chelsea that's the game where Ruben Loftus-Cheek got hurt, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, it was. He got injured. Yeah,
he got injured in that match, but like we saw the whole first team play. Like to watch Eden Hazard on the ball on TV is one thing. To watch him dribbling in real life
against the New England Revolution, let alone.
Regardless, he makes everyone look like they play on my U12 team. I don't have a U12 team, so there's no disrespect.
I have a U8 team, so don't disrespect my girls.
So it's like, Eden Hazard makes everyone look like a 7-year-old learning to kick a soccer ball for the first time. Like we got to watch him do that in person.
Oh,
you know, and that was after I beat you in soccer tennis in the parking lot.
Yeah, but I was heavier then. I wasn't as skilled as I am now. It's a different story.
But no, I mean, yeah, MLS having these quote unquote retired players come in or whatever it is, I don't care.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it.
It's just malarkey, you know. And that, folks, will wrap it. This is top of the hour of WMSC Upper Montclair, and this is Matchweek. Yeah,
I totally just had these on for like an hour and a half.